Assalamualaikum, Sat Sri Akal, Namaste, and good afternoon, everyone who's watching this educational and informative session every Sunday regarding real estate and mortgages, because these are the two topics which we focus primarily. But yes, some time to time with the current changes, economic changes or any other important topic we find is important and going to be interesting topic for our viewers and the people who are following us, we always add. And as everybody know that the regular people who are watching these sessions and are following us on Sunday, that today I have invited one of our very knowledgeable lawyer who is barrister and solicitor, Ikra Akram. She will be joining me in a few seconds. She's already joined me and I'll bring her live with my session. And today our key topic of the discussion is about title insurance. What is title insurance, why it's important, and all those details. And I don't want to get, more into this, and I'll just invite our guest of the day. And if you're watching this live, please feel free to, call or message me, because I am watching this live session and I'll be more than happy to answer, and our guest will be happy to answer your live question related to the topic. Please, if you stick to the topic, that will be much appreciated, because it will not take our, I should say, concentration away from the topic. So let me welcome our guest of the day, our local lawyer who is joining us in few seconds. Hello, Assalamu alaikum, Mikra. How are you?
Hello, welcome, Salman, sir. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm fine. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining us in our this live session. We were discussing a few minutes ago before we go live that this session is actually focused mainly for the public education and knowledge about the real estate and mortgages. But yes, beyond this topic, we do sometimes touch other topics which are beneficial for our viewers. And it is our honor to have you in our show as an expert lawyer in real estate and other areas. So I'll request you to please introduce yourself, and then we will start our discussion of the day related to the title insurance.
All right, no problem. Thank you so much, first of all, for having me here. And I'm very honored to be speaking to all your viewers about this highly requested legal topic in real estate. So as you know, my name is Ikra Akram. I am the principal lawyer at Ikra Law. We have been here in Brampton for about 5 years. We specialize in real estate law and personal injury. With real estate, anywhere from residential purchases and sales to refinances, as well as commercial properties. So we deal with construction loans, purchases and sales of commercial properties. In the last couple of years, we've been dealing a lot with private mortgages. As you're aware, it's been quite difficult for buyers to be able to secure with mortgages with A lenders. So we've become quite well versed with the different factors, terms, and conditions involved in dealing with private lenders. And our other area of specialty is personal injury. So when people get into car accidents, they need a lawyer to help them out, make a claim against the insurance company. So we're here to provide those type of services to all clients.
Well, that's fantastic. You have a lot of areas of specialization, and I'm sure that all these areas people are taking benefit of this. And let's start the topic we have selected today. I know that you have generously and kindly accepted that whenever you will get time, you will join us in future as well. And we appreciate your kindness that you are going to give us more time for our public service session, because these are all public service session. As you can see that we don't have any other marketing, any other, yes, obviously, indirectly it is marketing as well, the promoting us, promoting you, and but our intention is to spread the knowledge, share the knowledge so that the people can take benefit. So today we have selected the key topic, that was the title insurance in purchase of residential transaction or any other buying sales. Would you like to share what is title insurance? Because people are very much confused with the auto insurance, home insurance, mortgage insurance. life insurance, critical insurance, and now there is the title insurance, especially the people who have gone through the purchase experience in real estate. They have heard this word. Many don't understand why and what is this.
So, yes, like you said, at the end of the day, it's an insurance policy. It's there to provide some sort of protection. And in this case, it's targeted towards a homeowner's legal right to their property, so their title. It's usually a one-time payment that purchasers make at the time that they purchase their home, and the policy lasts for as long as they own the home until they decide to sell and purchase a new one. And it's basically there to protect buyers and lenders from any financial losses that may arise due to defects in the property's title. It goes a little bit further than a legal opinion in protecting homeowners' rights to their property, and it could protect them from a variety of issues regarding fraudulent liens, errors in public records, any family disputes, any boundary disputes that may arise, and it has everything to do with the legal ownership, which differs a little bit from home insurance policy. A lot of times I get the question from clients is, Ikra, what's the difference between a home insurance policy and a title insurance policy? And I put it quite simply to say, look, home insurance, it protects the tangible, the physical home. So if God forbid your home was to burn down or flooding, home insurance policy will come and cover the contents of your home. Title insurance is there to protect any title defects, anything that interferes in your legal ownership to that specific property, the intangible, the thing that you do not see. And these days, if you look back 30 years ago, title insurance was not widely known. It was not something that a lot of people purchased. Naturally, because, if you look at it, the price of the homes were not that much, maybe like 200, 150, maximum $300,000. But these days, you're dealing with minimum $1 million properties.
Yes, on average, this million is average now.
Average, right? Townhomes may cost you that much. Yeah. So and a home purchase is one of the biggest purchases someone can make in their lifetime. And naturally, if you're going to protect the physical contents of your home, why not go a step further and protect your legal ownership? These days, with the rise of online technologies, it's become quite, fraudsters are becoming very creative in the way that they're targeting these big assets that are just sitting there on the streets. So title insurance, although it's not legally required for someone to have in Ontario, it's highly, highly recommended. And there's a lot of lenders that will not go forward with the deal unless they're 100% sure that the purchaser is getting a title insurance policy. And as far as I know, a lot of lawyers will not proceed with the transaction unless the clients are protecting themselves with the title insurance policy.
And I completely understand from my, personal experience in the same industry or same profession as a realtor that how critical, how important this title insurance is. And as you just mentioned, that there are many lenders, or might be majority of the lenders, will not even allow to lend the funds, just like they don't allow you to register their funds if there is fire insurance is not taken. Because I remember people used to say, why I have to take the fire insurance? Because if the house burned down into ashes, their money is gone, so nobody's covering them. So similarly, as you mentioned, that if the title has some issues later on, might be down the road, you never know, 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, anytime, if any dispute comes up, then the lender money is in the dispute and in the in all this mess. Would you like to share what specific risk, yes, we generally talk about, but if we can talk in detail, what type of risks can be somebody can expect?
Yeah, so one of the main ones that I've seen come across is, let's say you're purchasing a home. During the closing, the lawyers do their due diligence. They make sure everything is paid to date, all the taxes, all the utilities. However, sometimes certain things go undisclosed. So let's say you've purchased a home, 3 months go down, and you realize you receive a bill saying that, there's, $1,000 of unpaid property taxes from the previous year, or unpaid water bills. And if you do not pay by a certain date, we're going to register a lien on your property. Now, the first recourse for any person in this situation is to go to their lawyer to help them close the property and say, hey, look, I received this letter from the city. Can you please reach out to the other lawyer and have the sellers pay their outstanding dues? In that case, your lawyer is also very limited in that situation, because if I take for me example, we are only limited to what the other lawyer can get from his client.
Yes.
And as you know, the seller's long gone. And it's very rare that the seller will come back and say, oh yes, you know, I have this responsibility and I have to pay this amount. So what title insurance comes into play when you're in a situation where the seller has gone and they're not willing to come back and pay these arrears. Now you reach out to your title insurance company and they will step in and help you cover and track down basically the seller and get those covered. Another big example is when you have, let's say the seller was committing fraud and they weren't actually the entitled owners of that property. Now you're in a situation where the real owners of the property have come forth and said, well, we never agreed to sell you this property. Well, I'm the rightful owner. And then that could get a very lengthy, very costly process, and title insurance will step in and help you deal with those matters. Another example can be boundary disputes. So, you know, let's say you're down the road, you decide to, you know, erect a fence on your property. And you go and you put the fence where you believe to be your boundary line, whereas your neighbor comes into play and says, no, this is my boundary. I'm entitled to this. And you were always under the impression that this was your land. Now, because perhaps at the time you never obtained a survey or a survey was not available, now you can reach out to title insurance company and they can help you deal with those issues or any problems that may arise in dealing with them. And another example is family claims. So where a property is inherited, but someone else with a legitimate claim will come forth and say, oh, wait a second, I'm actually entitled to this property. What are you doing? And you closed the transaction believing that you were entitled to it. And now title insurance is a recourse that you can reach out to and they can help you. So as you can see, there's...
May I interrupt you? Do you see these kind of, especially you just mentioned, in many matrimonial homes and in particular cultural background families have more? Because sometimes the properties are only one name and the wife or spouse, I should use the word spouse, name is not on the title, and they can just manipulate and sell the property and the other spouse might be not aware they're out of the country. Have you seen similar complaints, or have you heard about these complaints? Or
Yes, I've heard in situations when, for various perhaps fraudulent reasons, people may purchase properties in other family members' names and not their own names. But someone else may have a right to that property. And let's say, for example, a husband purchases a property only under their name. And, once they pass away, but they had a child with somebody else. And now that child comes back and says, well, I should have a legal right to this property. So that's kind of big issue that happens. And I think, as you can see from all these examples, it's become quite important, quite crucial for someone to obtain title insurance, because when you look at the grand scheme of things, the amount of protection it provides you, it far outweighs any uneasiness or upfront costs that you may have to incur.
That's fantastic. And I know because we also provide in the Team Mirza matrimonial services as well, where we help, resolving the disputes. And the reason I was just highlighting this question was that I've seen personally in many cultures where one of the spouse is not completely involved in the system. They are not well educated. They are not well aware. And the other spouse have used or abused this lack of knowledge from the other half and sold the property And down the road, after many years, they wake up and they say, wow, I was told that in that property, I should be getting matrimonial rights or my whatever the rights I had. And as you just mentioned, if that kind of claim come back on your purchased property and you are just, complaining to your lawyer or realtor that, hey, why I'm paying this $1,000 or whatever that amount is for the title insurance. This is why I try to recommend my clients that you're purchasing a property of $1 million, even more, but you're worried about this additional $1,000 cost, which can protect you if, God forbid, some bad time comes. So my next question is this title insurance mandatory? Do we have to take this? And I know you just mentioned some of the lenders will give you this condition and you don't have a choice. This is why I sometimes educate my clients that if you are somebody who is going to the lawyer office and saying, hey, I'm not going to sign this, that means the transaction is not going to close because there is hardly any document in the lawyer desk to sign, which you can ignore and you can decline that I'm not signing.
Yeah, like I said, it's not legally required. It's not legally mandatory, but circumstances surrounding a real estate transaction have become so that in essence, it has become mandatory in the cultural practice. In the practice of real estate, it's, maybe like 99% of the transactions are always title insured. Because what happens is when you go to your lawyer, any lawyer in real estate will complete due diligence on your behalf. They're going to pull up your title history. They're going to look at all the previous owners. They're going to look at all the liens registered. They're going to look at the legal description, see if there's any encumbrances, any easements, look at any previously registered cautions, any restrictions, covenants, all that. But again, your lawyer is a human being, and they're only limited to what they can search at that moment, to the documents that they have reviewed at the time of your transaction. Title insurance goes way further than that, as we've discussed just now, of all the different types of defects and all the different types of coverages it provides to you. So it goes a lot further than a lawyer's legal opinion in going and covering you for as long as you own the home, for as long as your policy is in place. So in that sense, although legally it's not required, it is highly, highly recommended that any homeowner, any person thinking of purchasing a home, that they consider the cost of a home insurance policy when they're making their budget with you, for example, and determining, okay, what's my budget in terms of purchasing a home? They should always keep in mind that, okay, title insurance along with legal costs, land transfer tax, registration fees, this is also an important closing cost that they will have to incur.
No, that's fantastic. And I know a lot of people will understand and now have a bigger understanding or a clear understanding about the title insurance. And as you just mentioned that, yes, it is not mandatory. I agree. It's not legal that you have to take. But on the other side, it becomes mandatory in a way that, let's say I'm the one who is giving you $1 million loan. And do you know that how many things I, as a lender, as a bank, or whoever I am, as a lender, I will use the word lender so that it will cover everybody. It could be private lender or A lender, B lender, C lender. But if the lender is asking you as a lawyer that, hey, Mr. Lawyer or Miss Lawyer, can you please make sure that these things are done? Can you please verify the job? Can you verify this? Can you verify that? That becomes mandatory in a way if the lender is asking you as a closing lawyer, have a title insurance, just like they ask the closing lawyer to make sure as a part of their conditions to have a fire insurance, which we normally call home insurance, but actually it's a fire insurance that is in place. And if you as a lawyer is not providing the lender that certificate of the fire insurance, they will not advance you the funds, so they will not allow you to close the deal, even the funds are in your trust account. So similarly, I believe that the title insurance condition is, if imposed by the lender, you cannot avoid, right?
That's absolutely correct. As part of our closing paperwork, because I think a lot of times clients don't understand is that when you come to a lawyer, for example, purchase transaction, and you're getting a loan from any lender, in that scenario, depending the type of loan, but most often your lawyer is representing you and they're also representing the interest of the lender. And so you've often, clients have heard the words, oh, instructions. Has the lawyer received the instructions? So that's exactly what it is. The lender is instructing me, hey, Ikra, can you please provide Mr. Mirza this loan? We're going to advance into your trust account. And before you advance it to the client, make sure X, Y, and Z is complete. And one of those requirements is to have a title insurance policy in place or a legal opinion. Again, like we discussed, title insurance policy in that scenario becomes really important because the lender, generally speaking, they provide 80% of the loan and you pay 20%.
In some cases, even more.
More. You have purchasers buying with just 5% down.
Yeah,
that means your lender has provided you 95% of the equity. Now, do you think they're just going to go and hand you over, $900,000 and without any protection in place? No, right? You would never give money like that.
No.
So, along with making sure that, hey, if the house burns down, I will get back that money. I'm sure clients are aware, and you're also, that when the client has to get the home insurance policy, they always have to put the lender's name, the lender's address, and they ensure they have to get guaranteed replacement coverage. So that if anything happens to the home, the lender's, $900,000 is guaranteed to be provided to them. Similarly, the lender wants to be assured that if I'm giving this money to the client, tomorrow, if something happens in the title and all of a sudden this purchaser is no longer entitled to the home, or there's something affecting their right to the home, all of a sudden the lender's money is sitting in midair. It's not protected properly by any encumbrance. There's no asset it's covering. So in that case, again, the lender will make sure, and a lot of times, in deals, a lot of times in certain instances of private lenders, you will often hear clients saying, hey, my deal got delayed because I wasn't able to obtain title insurance in time. And that is because there's a lot more underwriting process required. The underwriter will pause the deal because they're trying to make sure that all the risks are covered. They're trying to cover all the bases. And at that time, the client will be quite frustrated and saying, why is my policy not being approved? Can you make it go faster? And, in that time, it becomes important to be affiliated or be working with a lawyer that has a good relations with title insurance companies, because they can often pick up the phone and try to get the process moving a little bit faster and, go above and beyond for the client and see, hey, look, where is the problem? Where can I expedite things for my client? But it's also important for the clients to understand that the underwriting process is very important, because there's a lot of things that you may not see, but the underwriter as a third party is seeing that something may not be right. Whether it be ID verification, there may be a power of attorney that's involved. So a lot of these factors come into play.
And I think we should look at the title insurance as just like an insurance. When we use the word insurance, just like somebody can get a decline for the critical illness insurance, somebody can have a decline in the life insurance, and somebody can have any issues with any one particular type of insurance company who is not giving you. So do we have a choice of multiple different options or providers? For example, company A is declining your request, and then do we have another option to go to company B, C, D, like this, or there's only one company?
No, so yes, in Ontario there's 4 to 5 main title insurance providers, and here at my law firm we work with all the title insurance companies. So if a client comes back and says, hey, I have a preference that I would like to obtain my title insurance policy from a certain company, we're more than happy to accommodate the clients in their needs. If the circumstances are where they've been rejected from one title insurance company, they do have the options to reach out to the other companies as well. However, we do have to disclose to the new title insurance company or whoever we're approaching. And there's always a question they ask, has the buyer or the borrower been refused a policy from anywhere else? And chances are, there are some times, and I'm not saying this is all the time the same instance, but if you're denied by one title insurance, there's likely you may be denied by another. However, depending on the circumstances, all the title insurance policies, companies, they're relatively the same. The premiums may differ by $50, $100 up or down. The coverage, the type of coverage they provide will also differ a little bit, but more or less they have the same requirements. Generally, they provide the same type of coverage, unless you decide to go, add more endorsements, you decide to go a little bit further and add extra protection, again, depending on your specific deal.
And these things also, delay the process of the closing, and then clients get frustrated. They don't know. They will say, wow, my lawyer got the funds and all the documents are signed by me and everybody is ready. Why the deal is not getting closed at the last minute? So these are those reasons, or one of those reasons, which can delay the whole process. And it's very critical, because unless you get the title insurance certificates and forward it to the lenders, lenders are not giving you go ahead and register the title on this purchaser name. Is that right?
Yeah, 100%. And these days, because as you've heard in the news, fraud has becoming so common these days, right? Especially with the rising costs of the homes, title insurance is also becoming more thorough in their underwriting process. And we're seeing more and more delays being caused during this process. Sometimes now we'll have title insurance companies request us for the vendor's lawyer's information, and they will want to reach out to the vendor's lawyer and ask them, hey, have you worked with this client before? How did this client come to you? A lot of the questions we get asked would be, who's the mortgage broker? Have you worked with the client before? Right? And these little answers to these types of questions will determine whether the file goes for further underwriting process and further investigation, or if it gets accepted. But if you are obtaining a private mortgage with a lender, whether it be second, first, or even third, and you are working with a new lawyer, you've never dealt with this seller before, be prepared for a little bit of delays.
Thank you for, again, very valuable information you are sharing with our viewers. I'm sure many individuals who are watching us live, they are getting benefit. If anyone who's watching live has any question, feel free to, you can write down in the comments. I'm watching this live session as well. I can ask this question to our expert. One more, I should say, the topic I'd like to ask is, what is the average cost and what are those factors which can affect the cost of this title insurance?
Yeah, so the cost honestly fluctuates based on the purchase price. So naturally, if you are purchasing a home for $300,000, your policy will be in the low hundreds. Whereas if you're buying a property for about 2 million or even 1.5, or even the average like $1 million, your policy would be closer to the $1,000 mark. Again, it could go up or it could go down. It all fluctuates based on the purchase price. The type of coverage that you decide to go for. If your specific transaction requires further underwriting, further endorsements, that will affect the cost of your policy. If you are going with a private lender and need a little bit more endorsements there, that will cost a little bit higher. If there's pre-existing liens that may have to remain on the title, your deal has now become more risky for the title insurance company. Therefore, they may charge a little bit more in the premium. So all these kind of factors do play a big role in determining what the price will be. And a lot of times the clients come and say, oh, how come before my policy was cheaper, or how come it's more expensive? Well, then look at these factors, right? I don't set the price. Sometimes clients will be like, oh, my lawyer charged me so much for title insurance policy. It's no. It's whatever the invoice we get, we add those charges, and that's what you will see on your trust ledger.
And I think you just mentioned another very critical and key point just few seconds ago, that there are going to be might be some titles or some other liens already registered which cannot be removed, and those might be, you can correct me if I'm wrong, or might be highlight some more on this, that there are some security registration done which people sometimes don't understand, that the seller has purchased air conditioning, furnace, or hot water softener on a rental base, and those companies have registered the liens, and sometimes the second mortgage is getting registered, and they are required to remove them and bring them at number one, number two, because we should be, I think we can plan another session on this topic, where what is the difference between mortgage 1, 2, 3, 4 registration, because people just think, wow, this is a second mortgage. I know this is a second mortgage, but you have 3 or 4 companies already on your title for your security registration for your water softener and rental items. So lawyers have to remove them and give them postponement for some time. I know I'm using some technical word which might be people don't understand. We might can discuss this topic again in another session, because this is another big session where that numbering has to be dropped, and that second mortgagee has to be on number 2, and then the registrations have to come back. So if you like to, a little bit explain on this, we might like to have a complete session on this. I know it's a very detailed topic as well.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot to talk about in there, but recent changes have come into place early last year. I don't remember the exact date. Whereas now these registrations that we were talking about, NOSIs, or notice of security interest registered regarding hot water tank or furnace, have actually become void now, and they're no longer supposed to be registered. So when your lawyer does the title search, they see it, they can request it for it to be removed. There are certain registrations that are still allowed. Again, we can touch into it. It's a whole different topic. But with the term that you used, postponement basically, if we were to kind of go a little bit deeper, it's basically if, let's say, you're refinancing with your lender, and your lender says, I'm giving you this mortgage as a first position. This is a first position mortgage. All that means is when we look at your title search, the first encumbrance, the position, the priority encumbrance on there would be your lender. So if anything were to happen, if you were to sell your home, if we were to go in foreclosure, the first person that would be paid out would be your lender. Now, postponement comes into an issue when someone, went to a certain company, got a hot water tank, and they say, oh, you don't have to pay anything. You just have to pay a certain amount per month. Client is like, oh, wow, I'm getting a new rental. I'm so excited. But in the paperwork, they don't realize they've just signed their right to their home, that the company could come and register a lien for a certain amount. Now, when you come to the lawyer, you're getting a refinance, the lawyer says, hey, do you have any existing mortgages? The client goes, no, I have nothing. I'm like, okay. We complete the title search, and all of a sudden, I'm like, there's like a $12,000 notice of security interest registered on your title. And they're like, whoa, no. And that causes delays on their transaction, because now what we had to do previously, we would have to contact this company, and we would have to ask them permission for them to give their priority and put it in second place after the lender. That is what postponement is called. They're postponing their interest on your land to second or third position after the lender. And of course, that would require a lot of paperwork, a lot more delays in the transaction. And these are the kind of hurdles that we see a lot coming when dealing with refinance transactions. And the client has to register something, or in title insurance, for example, can come into place when there is a notice of security interest that's registered on your title that you had no idea of, that you never signed, and it was probably done fraudulently. And that's definitely where
we just recently heard a big case where these contractors were charged because they were just elderly and all, those other people who are not deeply knowledgeable. They're just getting signed their contracts for the construction and then registering big amounts of liens and then threatening them to sell the property. So you are right. There are so many things happening. We have to be very careful. And these are the reason that we have these sessions, Ikra, for our viewers, for public service, to educate them, bring the knowledge to them, for their benefit. And I'm sure that many, of the people who are watching these live, or they are going to be watching at a later time, whenever they will have time in different groups on YouTube, they will take benefit. So anything at the end you like to add before we end our session for the day?
Yeah, I think it's really important for anybody, whether you are a sophisticated buyer, an investor, you've done this several times, or you're a first-time home buyer. It's always very important to, consult with your realtor, and any other questions you may have, come to a real estate lawyer. And it's always good to go work with a real estate lawyer who is familiar with your realtor as well, and they have an understanding, because then it can help facilitate the transaction really smoothly. There's no communication gaps. And again, we're always happy to help any clients that come our way, whether it be residential or commercial. We have good experience in dealing with complex matters. Always important to ask questions. There's no wrong questions to ask. We are always here to help our clients. We're here to help facilitate their transaction. And yeah, we're happy that we can be here and provide this valuable knowledge to clients, so that when they do come into hopefully a really big transaction, a first-time home buyer, it's really important, crucial time in their life. And these kind of sessions that you host help them become more informed and more educated, so that they are aware of what's happening and they can make more informed decisions.
Yes, thank you very much once again. Would you like to share your office location? You mentioned that it's in Brampton.
Yes, so we're located at 221 Queen Street West in Brampton. The nearest intersection would be Queen Street and McLaughlin. It's in the heart of downtown Brampton. We virtually serve all over Ontario. However, most of our clients are located within the GTA, Mississauga, Milton, Brampton. Call us anytime at the number listed right there. Yeah. And we're always happy to help you.
Thank you very much, Ikra, that you have taken time out of your busy schedule, and especially on the long weekend. I know it's a family weekend, but I appreciate that you agree to provide us your expert opinions and expert knowledge sharing with our viewers. And I'm sure and I'm confident that many who are watching live, who are going to be watching at a later time, will get benefit out of this. And we will humbly request you to please find some time in near future as well to give us some knowledge sharing for our viewers time to time. Whenever you are available, we will love to have you on our session again.
Definitely. It was an honor being here. It's always lovely chit-chatting with you. And if we can provide our expertise and knowledge to the greater public, it's always my pleasure to do that. Thanks. And definitely in the next coming weeks, next month, we can touch base again on more pressing legal topics that people may have.
Thank you once again, and have yourself and everyone who's watching our session live, have yourself a wonderful Sunday and a long weekend. Thank you.